Okay, Mr. Neal, can you tell us about this wonderful project?
So the project began more in the humanities classroom because the students are learning about this particular region in terms of identity. With social studies, they've been studying the history of the region around the school, and specifically the Weaselhead, because it's a park that is only a 10-minute walk from the school and a place where we go regularly for outdoor education. And so the kids from a historical perspective have been studying how this landscape was shaped by the creation of the Glenmore Dam 100 odd years ago, and then the building of the reservoir and how that impacted this region in terms of real estate, land development, environmental, First Nations land with the casino. And so they've been studying the past, the history, the present, what it's like now, and then also looking at the future. In the future, one of the main issues that we've studied from a scientific perspective is the government's plan to put a ring road and a 6-lane highway down 37th Street across the Weaselhead Flats and to connect up to South Calgary on the other side of the reservoir. So from a science perspective, we've been studying the issues associated with that and how it'll impact the diverse ecosystem. There's over 1,000 species that live in the Weaselhead. It's one of the most biodiverse parks in Calgary. And the park could be threatened if they go through with this. So the little animals you see, the students they represent at-risk or endangered species that make their homes in the Weaselhead. So the students are researching these animals and making short videos, which we'll put online and link with QR codes, so people can have a virtual tour and learn about not only the history of this region, but also the sensitive and at-risk species that live there. From a science perspective, we've actually made this interactive by using a DC generator attached to our bike to generate power, which we run through an inverter to switch to AC, which is connected to a pump, which actually pumps water into our reservoir. And it's not finished, but we're going to be wiring up, so there will be power lines that supply electricity to lighting, and the students are going to light up the casino and provide some lights to the school and to the communities. So we're almost there.
Now, how long has this process been?
With the humanities side, they've been learning about the Weaselhead since really the start of the year. And from the scientific perspective, we've been studying the wetlands in the Weaselhead only for a few weeks. The actual construction of this project began about a month ago.
Did the teachers kind of map out where all the parts were, or did the kids do that?
We made it a math assignment. We were in shape and space and learning about measurement and scale. So we used Google Earth to kind of map out the area. We measured, we scaled it down. We tried to determine the best scale to use to try to represent it on our plywood. We tried to figure out what size to use, and then we kind of mapped it out as a class by projecting the image from a projector and then scaling it onto the boards. So there was a fair bit of math and collaborative work together. Ultimately, cutting it out was done by me with a saw, but as far as mapping out the individual locations on the panel, that was done in collaboration with students. So we'd use Google Earth to figure out first of all what is in the region. Then we brainstormed with all 50 kids what are the most important artifacts or physical locations we needed to include to tell this story. And then the students had to decide of those regions or physical artifacts what they were interested in building. And then we got them into groups, and then they had to map out where on the board they would build their part and what scale they would use. We tried to maintain a realistic scale. Obviously some of the houses are a little big compared to, this is a Lakeview Community House, this is the school.
Yes.
But we allowed the students to experiment with the scale of objects just to, artistically to tell the story.
Get a feel for it. Yeah.
Wow. And an important thing about this too is it's all, we didn't buy anything except the plywood. Everything you see is made of recycled materials. It's mostly magazines and the wire is recycled. And a lot of things like this we discovered down in the Weaselhead. We spent a day collecting garbage and cleaning up the park. And then we dumped all the garbage in a big pile on the floor, and we had them go through the garbage and pull out anything that might be useful that they could use to actually help build this. Because part of the whole idea of using the bike to generate energy and being sustainable was avoiding purchasing materials to build this and trying to build it out of recycled material. So a lot of this stuff was just lying around the school in cupboards, but we didn't actually go out and buy anything.
Now, I'm going to be showing this little clip to some pre-service teachers, social studies, that are in learning to be social studies teachers. What would you tell them the connection to the curriculum would be for a project like this that you would do all year? Where would you see social studies inroads?
Well, I'm not the social studies teacher, so that would be a really good question for my partner teacher, but I have taught humanities and social studies. In grade 5, I guess the main theme is about identity and Canadian identity.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's such a huge topic, you can go anywhere you want with it. So I think really for any teacher, you have to think about what's going to ignite your students, what's going to find something they're passionate about, that they're interested in pursuing. And that could be in your backyard. It could be, you have to use what you have. We have this natural space, which is threatened by a highway, so it's a perfect connection. And so taking something like that and then finding ways to make it fit the curriculum. It's because if you start, I've seen grade 5 kids doing project on a very diverse range of things, from Group of 7 artists to Eastern Canada, and with mixed success, because if the kids, if it's not immediate to them and it doesn't impact them, they're not going to be as engaged.
That's right. It's very personal to them.
It has to be personal. It's a place we can visit, and this is their backyard. This is where they live. And so if you can teach a kid to understand history and understand how to investigate history and to appreciate how history informs the present and the future, then they can understand any part of Canadian history, right? And if you get them excited and interested about it, they'll discover those things on their own as they grow up.
When I was in grade 2, and so that's like a long, long time ago, we were studying at that time what was called the Belgian Congo. And, it changed to Zaire, and I think it's actually back to Congo now. But the teacher did something like this on the top of a table, and there were little water things through it, and she dumped dirt on it, and we planted beans to make, you know how the tree, before they flop, they look like a rainforest, and we built little houses, and to this day, that's my most memorable social studies experience. Like, I learned so much, and we would stand around that table and look and talk about what we were learning about the Belgian Congo, and it's just so visual, so hands-on. The young
those are
fellow
the things you remember, right? Those hands-on experiences where you can really connect with something.
The young fellow Carson that described this for me, I think his is the other one. He did the Calgary Tower part of the panel.
For this panel section.
That's right. He knew exactly what was going on, and he talked about how he had learned about the oil business that was going on downtown around the Calgary Tower. And why would you ever learn that any other way?
Right.
So anyway, thank you for sharing that.
No problem. I think probably like the biggest thing that we try not to worry about all the individuals' outcomes in the curriculum, and we try to look at the more general and the bigger outcomes. And if you can find engaging projects that hit those bigger general outcomes, you're going to hit the specific ones along the way. And I think our school has proven that our kids do really well on the standardized tests, even though we're not specifically targeting all those specific, because they need to learn those. The curriculum is designed so well that they need to understand those things in order to get at those bigger concepts. And so you have to let that go and trust in designing this type of work.
The big picture of it. Yeah. In grade 7, where they've got, I don't know what it is, it's a ridiculous number of social studies outcomes. If you were going to do them individually, you'd never get through it. It has to be done that way. And so this is a great example. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.